Thank you. I'm Charles. The theme corruption, and you all I have to apologize like I do a couple things here. First, I want to thank CreativeMornings for inviting me to present. I want to thank Alex Cole for helping me present these slides at the great time. And thank you all. So corruption and assimilation. Constructed how assimilation has targeted my identity. The changes I thought I had to make. So I will accept it. It's definitely shaped this exhibit. The idea that I had to leave my Thai culture, language, customs behind so I would not stand out. So that I would become better. So that I would become its way. The process for claiming my identity and empowering the part of me that made me unique, that made my ingredients matter. It's definitely what I have been able to do through this exhibit, through this journey. A large part of that is I just down the road who saw something. So my parents, they wanted a better life for us. They wanted us to succeed, to prosper. But in order to do that, they thought they would have to lose a part of that made us unique. They never complained. They never gave up. They sacrificed everything so we could be in this country, so we could be Americans, and live the dream, the American dream. So I did what I was told. I remained in prison. I worked hard. I kept my head down. I assimilated. And I became a wisdom. When I found out this summer, 52 years later, that my mother had given up her time for content and became me king, I realized her full sacrifice for us, for me, for our family. 52 years later, not knowing her arms around me. That's good. So I tell my mom every day that I'm sorry. That I'm sorry I was embarrassed about our Thai accent. Sorry that I was embarrassed about the smells in our kitchen. Sorry that I was embarrassed of the objects in our home that reminded her of her homeland, of where we came from. So to have felt that in order to be accepted, I had to assimilate, that I had to be part of the American dream, not even really knowing what that dream was. Perhaps that is a societal corruption, the deterioration of one's culture, all just to fit in. So here's where you come in, the next generation. And thank goodness for the next generation, your generation. The pride to be you, to be an individual, to be okay with being unique. I found that in our own children, Miles and Evie. They've always stood tall. They've never been invisible. They've always been our light in our lives. So I think this at least gets a little bit lighter. I'm using my top songs of 2022 to kind of give you an idea of a framework for maybe how this all happened for me. And how I used the songs as the musical negative, exposing how I went through this personal journey here at Kaneko. My number one song was Dreams, a cover by Japanese Breakfast of the Cranberry song. And it definitely was a dream to be able to share my story with so many people. I honestly did not think it would ever happen. is changing every day, in every possible way. My dreams. It's never quite as it seems. So, I'm in love with Harry Styles too. Sign of the times. When I think what has happened in the last 3.5 years, how the hate formed, how the fabric of our society was divided, how people treated each other, was it just a sign of the times? We don't talk enough. We should open up before it's all too much. Will we ever learn? We've been here before. So anyone who knows me knows I love Joni Mitchell. Two Joni Mitchells. I love the painter and the musician. There's two different ones, but yes. But I remember watching this movie, Coda, and theme around both sides now, performed by Amelia Jones, and a touching story about a child of deaf adults. And it made me feel different about my life, that I had two sides to reflect upon. They shake their heads, and they tell me that I've changed. Well, something's lost, but something's gained in living every day. Another cover. Pay the Boss, Bruce Springsteen, but Dancing in the Dark by Lucy Dacus is number 4. Some part of happiness maybe for me is being in the dark. To be in the shadows unnoticed, but also just needing something to ignite your fire. I ain't nothing but tired. Man, I'm just tired and bored with myself. I could use just a little help. But you can't start a fire. You can't start a fire without a spark. Anyone have a fire? I love you too. I'm reading Bono's Surrender book right now, and I listened to this great podcast about him. But, you know, this song, it was so serendipitous that all this happened, that I pulled up this top 5 playlist, and I think I told Natalie and I told Catherine about that, and said, hey, I think I've got a different thing here that I'm going to try and do. But Where the Streets Have No Name, there's a lot of things with this. I mean, the last of my top 5, I found the title serendipitous, as I said, thinking of giving up names, having no names, wanting something different. Well, I want to run. I want to hide. I want to tear down the walls that hold me inside. I really felt something different when I heard it this year. So there you have it. I wrapped up my year with my top 5 playlists. I've dreamt, seen the writing on the wall, looked at life from both sides, danced in the dark, and ignited a spark, and found my name. I'm Charles K. Jr. Thank you for seeing me.
All over the back, but does anyone have any questions for Charles this morning? Yeah.
Great job. But do you have, I guess, there's a lot of immigrants that come over and, their parents are very humble and thankful. And there's the rebellious kids coming up. And then maybe, something clicks and you realize the sacrifice that your parents, made. And then there's so many people that kind of take advantage of that. So how do you deal with, with some folks that are maybe not as thankful? I mean, you were there maybe at one time, but is there anything that you can kind of share, with some of the people that, take things for granted?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's sort of cliche to say, check your privilege, but I think a lot of times that's the thing that comes out, particularly with my children, when someone's just being, I think, oblivious to their natural born right because of their skin color. I love being an American. I love that my parents sacrificed pretty much everything to be here, to give up so many things. And at that time, assimilation wasn't really necessarily the word that was used, you know? It was follow the American dream. And I don't think the dream was giving up everything. And I think that the thing that I found, that I think Lori and I found, that with our children, their pride in their skin color and who their grandparents were and are, created a different type of bond that my generation, the first generation immigrants, wanted to hide or give up on, right? Thank you for your question.
So, minor question, but how did you come up with your connection to your songs? Like, when you're thinking about talking about this?
Yeah, so a couple things. I mean, one, Stefan and the Kaneko crew have let me have, basically my checkout for this book has expired months ago, but they continue to let me have space. I've given a lot of talks, and this is the only room that stayed awake the whole time, by the way, so that's pretty good. I've given a lot of talks, and I just thought I needed to do something different. And I'm not actually, Lori will tell you this, my kids will tell you this, I'm not a musically inclined person. I really am not. I just like certain songs. It's just me. I'm an 80s person, so Alex can say that too. She knows the music in the studio. But I looked at those 5 songs and I thought, what the heck? That's crazy. That's really literally my year. And it all makes so much sense, right? To be able to have a discussion in October of 21 with Stefan at the Venus auction and have that one person tell you that they loved your work, that it was one of the favorites to them, to be given that opportunity to start seeing that the light might be kind of indirectly hitting some part of me. And you know, when I go through the songs, I'm telling you, I know them. I literally listen to them. I was telling Catherine, I put on my playlist as I drove my 7-minute drive down here today. And then I sat in a conference room and listened to it again. So I just thought it made sense.
Okay, so imagine you're in an alternate timeline where you didn't immigrate here. How would your art have changed? Or would you be doing art?
Well, I can tell you, if that alternate or different universe existed, the story wouldn't exist. So I don't know if you all have been through this exhibit. I didn't want to talk forever because I think the work is what I want to take you through if you have time afterwards to stick around for it. I'll give you a personal tour. There's a wall in here that is called a reflection wall. And when you put your hands on it, you ask the question, what makes you feel seen? And I've written the same thing on the wall every time I've gone to the wall. I've written family. So though the story wouldn't be the same without my family and what their journey or their sacrifices, and I don't know, I don't think the body of work by any means would be the same. I think it would have just been, hopefully I would have still been a surfer. I'm not much of one now, but hopefully I'd still be a surfer of some sort, maybe be something in that genre, but, or, you know, I love dogs, maybe dogs, I have no idea. But in this case, I didn't know. I didn't know that a personal story would do anything beyond connect with myself and our family and our small circle. So I'm humbled by the fact that so many people have come up and shared on the wall over here, have sent me messages, have just openly shared when I've been in the exhibit giving a tour. I hope I never have to be in that other universe, actually. So, thank you.
Thanks, Charles. So I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention some of the other kinds of events that you've had here, and I thought maybe you could share the decision-making process around the types of events that have invited people like this to come and experience the exhibit in different ways, and maybe tell them a little bit about the couple that are coming up. as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a lot of meetings in here, and there was a lot going on with Connecto when I was installing, and I was up in the summer. And Catherine and I sat in that office back there, and we talked about things. And I said, I want to activate the space. And they were like, okay, what do you want to do? You've got videos, you've got everything in there, like multi-sensory overload. So what else can you want to do in your Mary Poppins bag? I said, well, one thing is for certain, the name immediately came to me. It was Laura McCarville is going to lead a meditation in here, a mindfulness meditation. I like to do it once a month if that's possible. And we'll find funding for it. And between the Connecto and an anonymous donor, we've been able to fund the event. It's a donation-based event, and the proceeds are matched by my son's company, and it goes to help the Refugee Empowerment Center here. So I thought it was a really great thing. So my plug, I didn't get up in the beginning and say it. This Sunday, 10 a.m., there's a mindfulness meditation. If you do come, bring a mattress to sit on. I mean, something really comfortable. This floor is concrete. So. But it's led by Laura. It's really great. And as Stephanie said, it's the 45 minutes that you can actually shut your brain off. And it's kind of nice to be able to do. Why would I do something like that? Why would I have anything else in this space other than just the art? It's because I felt like it could connect in different levels in different ways with people. So Padma Light, Kendall, did a sound bowl experiment in here twice. And that had like 80 some odd people plus in the projection side of the space. So they literally filled out and through for an hour-long sound bowl performance with a crystal chime and a gong. It was really cool, like really cool. I did 23andMe and found out that I was 100% Scottish after all this. Honest. I think they got the wrong sample, but I'm being honest. So in March, I said, hey, I want to have bagpipes here. And I know everyone was like, oh my God, he's lost it. But when we were in Edinburgh this winter, when I would walk the streets for the 3 hours of sunlight, you'd hear bagpipes somewhere play. And man, it's just so, I've always loved bagpipes. Like I love bagpipes. I should probably try to learn how to play one, but I love them. And Dr. John Brady responded. Unfortunately, he had like gave me like, I had this feeler out for months, and like a week before, he said, oh, I can do that. Scottish instructor, you know. But he performed the bagpipes in here, and he said, you know, a lot of people don't know that bagpipes beyond a jig the original content was very slow and very rhythmic. And I love that because that connection, and when you go in the exhibit, the sound hits you right here in your chest, you feel it right here. And I knew the bagpipes would work well with that. So we left the sound on full. Like with Padma, we brought the sound down. With Laura, we bring the sound down a little bit, but on full. And the other thing is, Dr. Brady said, bagpipes there's no knob to turn the volume down. They're just loud, like really loud. But that was great. And, you know, the idea behind the bagpipes, honestly, was not just because of my 23andMe findings, but the part that I wanted to remember. My dad died in 2006. He wasn't able to see a lot of things that we were able to accomplish as Lori and Charles, our business, and what I was able to do with the show. So that idea of honoring those lost, but definitely not forgotten. That was the idea behind the bagpipes. So I said this Sunday, 10 a.m., sign up on Connecto's website. It's a free meditation for 1 hour. And then on April 13th at 6 p.m., which is Thursday night, we have Sophia Potter performing the cello inside the space. Sophia hasn't performed live since pre-pandemic. She's the executive director of the Omaha Chamber of Music. Incredible musician, and her education, her work here in Omaha, that'll be a really cool performance. We'll have chairs inside the venue, inside this, so that waves will come down a little bit in sound, but she'll be performing. It's very, very, very cool. So, a couple things. One, this Kaneko, the ability to be able to collaborate, to creatively and freely collaborate with other artists inside of an exhibit, that has been really special. I think they could have just said no, and you know what, your rent was due February 5th, get out. So the fact that I was able to stay this long, to be able to have this many experiences, to share a story so that patrons can join the exhibit by telling us, how did Unseen make you feel? That's been really great. In addition to having the opportunity to have an open invitation to any curators or cultural institution interested in exhibiting this work, Stefan's helping find funding to bring those curators here if they don't have that. That's great. We've had a lot of other institutions reaching out to us. I'm hoping the show travels, besides in our basement, because Lori's not going to look at it anymore, but yeah. Thank you.
Got one more program, April 27th.
You think that's going to get extended again? But April 27th, they're going to kick me out, and I'll have a closing talk. The discussion is frameworked around reflection. And I think I'll go through, I know what I'll do. I'm going to go through a lot of what I was able to come to terms with, but also how what people wrote to me or wrote on the wall or emailed, etc., how I reflect upon those feelings.
Lovely, lovely. What you just said was so amazing. Can we just take a moment to give a round of applause for the Kaneko team for some really fantastic programming and support system that they have in place and that they're trying to move art forward right now, right? It's not about just in theory, it's about in practice. So thank you so much. I do have a question, and that question is, so when I went through Unseen, I very much saw it as a beautiful mixture of art and activism. So my question for you is, do you see yourself as an abolitionist taking people from tangled corruption to unleashed freedom through peace?
Great question.
Well, thank you.
I'll tell you what I think this has done to me, how I was formed, how I emerged from assimilation. And, being a photographer, looking for light always, I've learned to find the light and put it on people who are not in it. The people who want to hide for whatever reason. I don't know if that's an activist, I think it's being human. And I want to bring light to the people who are in the shadows. That's what I hope I can continue to do. And I think that's a better practice for my life.
That's so good. Thank you so much, Charles, for sharing. I am going to cut off questions mostly because I want to make sure you have time. If you haven't been to the exhibit, you're going to want to go through before you leave. You can do it at your own pace. If you only have a few minutes, it's worth going in there. I promise you're going to want to come back if you only have a few minutes. But Charles is also willing to spend a little more time and take some folks through a guided tour as well. So I want to leave some space for that in case anyone wants to. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up. If you did have another question, I know he mentioned it here, but Charles has been super responsive to people who've reached out about the exhibit, and you can find him. He tells me he's here all the time, basically. So you can confirm. So you can probably find him and ask a question if you want to. But let's give him one more big round of applause.